and marginalized black watermelon merchants and turned a symbol of financial freedom into a powerful racial insult.
We all came out of Africa. Okay. We all originated. Yeah. So basically every human form originated from the Asiatic.
Cognitive skills and our reading skills. If a kid doesn't know how to read by the time he's in the second grade, they build a jail cell.
Yo, what it do? Welcome back to another episode of BUA. I'm your host, Heru Adamu. Here we talk business, politics, war, love, and everything in between. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. First, tonight we get into Rick Chow, the Asian man that murdered a 14-year-old boy. The verdict, it sparked debate across the country. Some believe justice was served. Others believe the outcome raises serious concerns about the accountability and the value placed on black lives.
Donkey of the day for Tuesday, June 2nd goes to Rick Chow. He is a 61-year-old convenience store owner in Columbia, South Carolina, and yesterday he was found not guilty of the 2023 shooting of a 14-year-old named Cyrus Belton. Sending healing energy to the family of Cyrus Belton, RIP to that young brother. 14 years old. Shot and killed by Rick Chow. The prosecution and defense, of course, had different stories. Prosecutors said Chow acted in anger because he wrongly thought the teen had stolen 4 bottles of water from the store. A defense lawyer said Chow fired to defend his only son after the teen pointed a gun at him. The 14-year-old had a loaded firearm. In South Carolina, I believe you have to be 21 to purchase a handgun. If you're 18 to 20, state law says you can legally acquire and possess handguns through private sales or as a gift from your immediate family. I also know that the jury found Rick Chow not guilty, and in America, that's how the legal system works. Well, Donkey of the Day isn't a legal award, okay? It's a common sense award, and common sense tells me, okay, Charlemagne the God, Leonard McKelvey, that if you're chasing a 14-year-old child, okay, if prosecutors said Chow chased the teen more than 130 yards from the store, I don't see how that's self-defense, okay? How are you protecting your son if you're the one in pursuit? Okay, according to prosecutors, Cyrus never stole the water, put the bottles back, ran from the store, and was eventually shot in the back after a chase. You just heard the news report. Defense argued that Chow was protecting his son because the teen had a gun and pointed it at him. Hey, if that happened and you would have pulled your gun out and defended your son in that scenario, then I would completely understand. But here's the thing. I don't see no proof that happened. Okay, and if that young man did that and ran away, why would you run after him? Okay, see, that's the problem. Too many people want to play police officer, judge, jury, and in this case, executioner. Okay, if you think someone shoplifted, call the cops. Okay, if you say this young man pulled a gun on you and threatened the life of your son but then ran away, call the cops. Okay, every situation does not require escalation. And this was clearly one of those situations. Okay, why turn a minor dispute into a permanent consequence?
Exactly. Why turn a minor incident into a permanent consequence for a child that's 14? This kid's 14. Now, I would say he shouldn't have a gun. I don't know why he had a gun. Like, he's not even legally old enough. So there's 2 parts that I look at. It's like the prevention of it all. Where are his parents letting him have a gun and why does he have one? But at the end of the day, he didn't shoot anybody. He didn't rob the store at gunpoint. He was just taking some water and he was on the run. He was running. Like in Texas, you can't shoot somebody in the back. Like if somebody robs your home, you have the right to kill them with deadly force or use deadly force to kill them. But if they're running away, you may have a case on your hand. You can't just shoot somebody in the back after they're running away. So this kid is running away and there's no evidence that he pulled out a gun and pointed it at them. And if anything, he should because they were pursuing him 130 yards away from the store. You can see the footage very clearly that the kid is running away. So it's like, why are y'all chasing a kid down? And Rick Chow, this is not his first murder. This is his 3rd time. So this is not his first time doing this. He's just trigger happy and wants to kill other black people for robbing his store. Like, really, it's just a lot of hate going on. So the white man told everyone to hate black people in America and all the other cultures, they just believed it. And, you know, again, let's just think about it. It's water. Like if somebody runs into your house, yes, you should possibly kill them. But even then, you don't have to kill them. You just have to defuse them. Shoot them in the leg, call the police, defuse the situation. Why is there so much murder in your mind? What's the problem? This is a kid too. You know, it's like no threat and the kid is running away. You chased them down, hawked them down and tried to kill him. Not tried to kill him, you did kill him. You know, so it's been a lot of discussions online about retaliation and what we should do as a black community. The black community is thinking about boycotting Asian stores and not, the nail salons, the hair salons that the Asian community, the liquor stores that make so much money off the black community. We may need to boycott this at this point. So remember they had Black Lives Matter, and then right after that they had Stop Asian Hate. Asians don't get any hate. They're actually preferred. Like Indians and Asians. Indians are Asian people, but just in general, they're preferred. If I get on the phone and talk to somebody to fix my computer and they have a Asian accent or Indian accent, you feel safe. When you talk on the phone with somebody with a black accent, even for black people, you feel less safe because of the conditioning of our minds through the media. Like this. Like, why does this make headline news? This happened in 2023. Of course, the verdict was today, or it was yesterday, but why is it making such big news? Because it causes dissension amongst communities, which allows the government and the powers that be to control everyone. You see, and it also causes hate amongst each other, so we don't come together as a people against the government, against the people that actually have power and control the jail systems, the food, the agriculture, the major systems of the world, the banking, the health systems, insurance. They don't want us to come together. So they constantly got a new story like this every week. Last week it was a Latina cop lady. This week it's the Asian man killing a 14-year-old boy. One of our youth gets killed by somebody that's not from our culture every week. So we can't even afford to kill each other anymore. We're already killing each other as it is. Then we have other cultures killing our kids as well. They're not safe. And when you watch the kid walk into the store, the lady tells him to put his backpack down. Like, he can't even come in there with his backpack. Like, I don't even know why we shop at these stores at all. But it's hard for us to get a bank loan to open up a corner store from our own country. So we need ownership. We have to own our own corner stores. Like, that's just as simple as that. But we spend most of our time trying to spend money with other communities. So speaking on the youth, the next conversation focuses on what many believe to be the biggest problem for Black Americans, which is the pipeline to prison. Dame Dash recently spoke about it and how the education system influences future outcomes.
If you know anything, you know the biggest problem with us is our cognitive skills and our reading skills. If a kid doesn't know how to read by the time he's in the second grade, they build a jail cell. And then when they go to jail, they give them all these drugs. There's so many issues that I'm dealing with that I don't have time for this shit. Mm-hmm. And if you ran for office, you know what it is to pass a law, then you should teach it. Because no one taught you how to run for office, and that's an issue. You know what else is an issue? If you're paying attention, that most of the school books that we were educated were made by Mossad. Did you know that?
No.
That's the thing that you need to know.
Who is that for people that don't know?
Ghislaine Maxwell's father, remember the one with SB, the father, is a Mossad agent, and his job was to make school books for American children. So we were educated by, you understand? Do the research. I just think we're too distracted with bullshit. And we need to know the fight and our problems so we can fix them. Why are we so worried about bullshit? Because we can't read. And why? Because we're teaching the old curriculum that Thomas Jefferson implemented for Black people to learn how to listen to white people. And we still have the same curriculum now. So we need to know our issues. And regardless to how we feel, unless you get a law passed, it doesn't matter. Did they teach us how to pass laws? No. Why? So I've spent a lot of time with principals, with politicians, congressmen, senators, running up in jails. No press for that. They don't want to ever see me do God's work. But we don't talk about God's work. We talk about the devil's work from 20 years ago when I was a kid. Why don't we talk about what I've done as an adult and how much I pushed the needle and action, not words?
We don't talk about what Dame did positively. We only talk about the negative. It's always like Dame Dash we're having a conversation about how Jay-Z went on without him and stuff. But like Dame Dash does a lot. Like he speaks out for the Black community a lot. We should really have his back. Like he gets on Charlemagne about being masculine. It's not because he wants to go against gays or anything. It's because he wants Charlemagne to be an image for young Black boys. That's my uncle right there. Black America, we got to ask, like, are our children being educated for ownership or participation? How many schools teach entrepreneurship? How many schools teach ownership, real estate, investing, business, development, wealth creation? None of them. And obviously that's where all of our kids go. I would never put my kid into a public school. And then Black people, They know they don't have money, they don't have information, knowledge, they can't read well, then they put their kids in the same school. I know black people that went to a high school and public school and they had children in the same neighborhood and put their kids in the same exact school, in the same system that has them out of commission. So the second issue is critical thinking. Every generation must learn how to question information, evaluate sources, and think independently. You know, like just because somebody said it doesn't mean it's true. You shouldn't believe anything that you hear and half of what you see, because your vision is being created by your enemy. And that's what the school system is set up to do. It's a pipeline to prison. You know, once they see, and they got this set up already, once they see that a kid's reading level is at this level, they already create another jail. They create jails for this. Jail was created to capture free black slaves. There would be no police force without black free slaves. The police force was created to catch black men. So knowledge is power, but only when people learn how to analyze information. You know, we got to educate our own. We got to have our own schools. Dr. Umar tried to come up with his school, and he got nothing but backlash. I know it's still not open, but that's all we ever hear. Umar, you didn't open the school yet. You didn't open the school. Did you give them money to open the school? This is what I'm saying. We're so concerned about trying to pull a black man down instead of trying to support him. Even if you don't put up money behind Umar's school, at least support the idea that we need our own school so we can educate ourselves. Like, what's wrong with these people? These people are sick. These people are sick. They're sicker than them. Now, we're sicker than our enemy. The Mossad is the CIA for Israel, and Israel is running America. That's why they wrote our textbooks. They wrote our textbooks so they can have black people behind them and have them working as slaves. Of course, school is not only to not teach you entrepreneurship and real estate and the things you need to build wealth. School is to train you to do the opposite. Not only is it, they're not just teaching us real estate, economics, wealth building, they're literally teaching you the opposite. Get a job, do not invest, save your money where it loses power through inflation, and keep it in your bank where it's gonna go up 2% and inflation is going up 3.2%. That way your money's losing money. They're literally teaching us how to do this. Even our grandparents and our parents save money. All of that is nonsense. They don't teach us how to invest for a reason. It's very systematic. So throughout history, whether black people have built independent economic power, they've often had significant obstacles. I mean, Redwood, Oklahoma, Tulsa. So we all know that we have fear behind building. All of our black leaders have been killed. All of our black leaders have been killed. So that's where it's at. We have fear to build again. Every time we build a Black Wall Street, they bomb us. They bomb us. When I talk to immigrants and migrants from other countries, I'm like, yeah, they bombed us. They don't even know about this stuff. Even people from Africa, people from Nigeria, Ghana, West Africa, Equatorial Guinea, they don't know. They're like, y'all got bombed. They don't even think about it. And obviously, they don't even care. Asian people don't care. Indian people don't care. They just want to get your spot. They want to get the black person's spot that they've worked for, that through the civil rights movement, through education, through investing. White people bomb black people when they're building independently, not bothering anybody. They come bomb them because they see them as a threat. Just like America does to everybody else, like Iran. They come bomb Iran because they're not in alliance with America and doing what they want to do. They're just gonna try to bully them. But as you can see, Iran ain't going for that shit. Like, all you gotta do is stand on business. Now America has to come to the table with a plan, an idea, and an agreement with Iran. Not to say they're not struggling. Iran's struggling right now. They're having a hard time paying their government officials. They're behind. Just like our gas prices are high, all of their prices are high as well because we're at war with each other. But they're not finna roll over for America. You gotta come to the table. That's what black people have to do. You have to try again. Don't give up. Like, shit, they whooped you last time. You gotta fight again. Fight again and fight again until a point where you have enough leverage to where they have to come to the table. Even if you gotta bleed, you're already gonna die, but you're just gonna die being a pussy. You see? That's what black people, they want to live a long pussy ass life. Like, I want to be 97 years old and be a pussy. Like, I'd rather die young, like fighting for something that makes sense. You know, this stuff is getting out of hand. A recent conversation that was had on Eggs and Grits podcast focused on the topic that doesn't get enough attention: black agriculture success and the importance of economic self-sufficiency. You see, my father was a sharecropper. My father was a sharecropper. They act like slavery was a long ass time ago. Now, my father, he was adopted by his grandfather because his parents, you know, they basically abandoned him. He was picked up by like CPS at that time, and my grandfather adopted him. So he was on a plantation, and they grew cotton and watermelon. So my father. So this is not a long time ago. Historically, Black Americans have built farms, owned land, established businesses, and created thriving communities despite enormous obstacles.
Since the earliest days of plantation slavery, the caricature of the dark-skinned black child, his two red lips stretched to grotesque extremes as they opened to chomp down on watermelon, was a staple of the racism diet. Over time, watermelon came to be a symbol of broader denigration of black people. It became part of an image perpetuated by white culture bent upon bolstering the myth of superiority by depicting the inferior race as lazy, simple-minded pickaninnies interested only in such mindless pleasures as a slice of sweet watermelon. Like all racial and ethnic stereotypes, this one's destructive properties have, through decades, stretched far beyond mere insult. It's helped to poison self-esteem, pushing some people to avoid anything that seemed too black, lest they be lumped into the company of Uncle Remus, Aunt Jemima, or some other relative of racism. Watermelon's connection to black economic wealth is deeply rooted in the post-Civil War Reconstruction era. Following emancipation, many formerly enslaved African Americans used their agricultural skills to grow and sell watermelon as a cash crop. Because the fruit was cheap to cultivate, required little land, and could be sold directly to consumers. It provided a vital avenue for black economic independence, self-sufficiency, and generational wealth. The early agricultural prosperity, however, sparked swift retaliation from white supremacists. As black farmers and merchants began to build financial freedom, a deliberate propaganda campaign was launched to devalue and demean this success. The transformation of a cash crop became an economic threat. Independent black farmers and vendors selling watermelons directly to consumers threatened the traditional economic hierarchy of the Jim Crow South, therefore turning to a racist trope to dismantle the growing independence white society created and popularized racist caricatures and propaganda through newspaper, cartoons, and advertisements. The watermelon was weaponized to portray black people as lazy, messy, and childish, suggesting they were inherently unfit for freedom and self-governance. The psychological impact of this systemic shaming was successful and marginalized black watermelon merchants and turned a symbol of financial freedom into a powerful racial insult. So
These people have so much hate for black people that if black people started selling watermelons, they will make watermelons illegal. They will put a bad name on it. They will put images in the media to have watermelon looking crazy and we got big black lips eating watermelon. I mean, and that's what it is. I mean, chicken and watermelon, like, you know, this idea, because we had all the chicken and watermelon. Like I just told you, my father was on a plantation picking cotton and watermelon. That's the business. He left home at 17, went on to play football in college and trying to make it to the NFL, the white man's league, and, you know, ended up in the military, the white man's military. You know, shout out to my dad. I still love him, but I talk to him all the time about this type of stuff, is that you really ran away from home. You should have stayed there and worked the farm. I mean, when we control land, food production, business, and resources, that's the real economic power, the real agriculture behind it. See, we don't understand that we can be the #1 watermelon producers in the world and have $1 billion business, $1 trillion business, because we own the land. This is farming. We should own all of that. Everything that black people try to do to be successful becomes illegal, like selling weed. I feel as though, honestly, black people are the best at selling weed, especially before it was legal. It only became legal because white people wanted to sell it. When black people sold weed, everybody knows if you want to get weed, you go to black people. There's certain things you go to certain communities to get. Like, you know, like, and weed was just one of those things, but now they've legalized it, and it's it's illegal when black people were doing it, but now it's legal now that white people are doing it. And the licensing to get started is $250,000. We know black people don't have that because we destroyed all of their communities and we bombed them when they got close. When they were getting close to having what they needed, we bombed them. A bomb. Who bombed somebody in their own country? Like, what do you have going on? And that's just one story. That's just Tulsa. I can list a whole list of time. True wealth is ownership. Ownership of land, housing, business, infrastructure, processes. A community that owns assets is far more resilient than a community dependent on basic needs. Black people think about finances. We think about income. How much money can I make? We don't think about ownership. We don't own the buildings. We think about making money. So we thinking about income instead of ownership. Owning the land that grows watermelons on it. Think about that for a second. The land grows food on it. You really only need food, water, and shelter. You don't need a Benz. You don't need a Rolex. You don't need any of those things. But you need food, water, and shelter. The land facilitates food, water, and shelter. Black people are not concerned with obtaining the land. They just want the money. So let's shift gears. We discussed justice, education, economics. Now, let's discuss humanity's oldest question. Where do we really come from? Neil deGrasse Tyson, he recently sat down with Shannon Sharp for a fascinating discussion about human evolution, origin, science, and history.
What do you think is the biggest difference between European, Asians, and Africans?
Well,
Besides region,
so we all came out of Africa.
okay?
Okay.
We all originated.
Yes.
So basically every human form originated from the Asiatic.
No, from African.
African.
Yes. Humans'
Okay.
origin is in Africa.
Africa.
There is no dispute about
None.
that at all.
None. Zero.
At all. So now, let me lead into that by saying, we surely know people. You say Americans, and you say, oh, they'll say, well, what are you? That's well, I'm Italian. Well, where are you born? America. Where are your parents born? Brooklyn. Where are their parents born? Italy.
Right.
So I'm Italian.
Right.
All right, here's another one.
Okay.
What are you? Oh, I'm Swedish.
Okay.
Well, where were you born? I'm born in New York. Where were your parents born? In New York. Where are their parents? Because that's the immigrant.
Right.
Where were their parents born? No, I get it right. So we'll come through. Where are their parents born? Minnesota. Okay. Where are their parents born? Minnesota. Where are their parents born? Sweden. So I'm Swedish.
Right.
You see what they're doing?
Yes.
They're going back their tree, finding the place that
fits.
that soothes their need to have some kind of an association.
Even if they've never been to that place.
And they stop there. Okay?
Okay.
What I tell them all is, why don't you keep going?
The reason why they don't want to keep going back is because they benefit from the dissension of humans. Like, they benefit from black people being in a worse situation than them, under them. They don't want to keep going back because they don't want to understand that they have Neanderthal DNA. They have Neanderthal DNA. They always said that black people are monkeys, when in fact, white people are closer to monkeys than black people. Even look at their small lips, and I mean, no disrespect to white people, but I really don't give a fuck. But I'm saying, look at their features and look at our features. They really are closer to monkeys, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like monkeys, I like chihuahuas. Chihuahuas are just not a real dog. I love chihuahuas, but it's not a real dog. It's a hybrid dog. White people just got here 4,000 years ago. You see, that's why they tell 2,000-year-old stories like the story of Jesus and Christianity. They tell stories that's just like the other day, like 2,000 years ago, like it's ancient times. Knowing that humanoids have been here for millions of years. Really, and our version of Homo sapien has been here for 300,000 years. Our particular version has been here for 300,000 years. Humans come from the Nile River and the primordial waters of Nu near the Nile River in Africa. Everyone knows that. But where do white people come from? That's the question. They come on the scene out of nowhere. Where do chihuahuas come from? Chihuahuas are hybrid dogs. They're not real. If humans go and humans get extinct, chihuahuas won't last. Poodles won't last. Only the wolves, only the hyenas, only the Belgian Malinois, only the real dogs will still be around. That is why they want to stop at Sweden and they don't want to go into the history, because the history doesn't include them. It's your boy Heru Adamu.